Hello everybody and welcome back to Screen Stars. I'm here today to review the classic miniseries from the 90s, The Stand, which is based on the Stephen King novel. And this is a film that I've had on DVD for quite some time. And I was looking at it the other night thinking, why haven't I reviewed this yet? And I'm about to rectify that. Because I don't know why I haven't reviewed it yet. It's actually one of my favourite miniseries. And at the height of the miniseries' power, which was the 80s and the early 90s, there were three that stand out to me that are still very fondly remembered by me. That's V, which is my favourite of all time, which I've reviewed on the channel. It, which is a fantastic miniseries, which has probably been overshadowed by the recent movie. And The Stand is my third favourite. I absolutely love this miniseries. When it was premiered in 4 separate parts, and you had the Plague, the Dreams, the Betrayal, and the Stand, and the whole thing runs in total on the DVD for about 6 hours in total. So you've got a pretty meaty mini-series to get your teeth stuck into here, and a very impressive cast too. Let me just read out some of the cast that you've got. You've got Gary Sinise, Molly Ringwald, Rob Lowe, Jamie Sheridan, Laura San Giacomo, Ruby Dee, Ozzie Davis, Miguel Ferrer, Matt Frewer. We've got Kathy Bates in here and Ed Harris as well. Very, very impressive cast that this miniseries has to be said. And for those that don't know, like I say, it's based on the Stephen King book, which I haven't read. It's a huge book, and my mum has it, and she keeps pestering me to read it. And to be fair, I just don't have the time. But she's a big fan of the book. And like I say, it is broken down into 4 parts, is this miniseries. The first part of the miniseries is the Plague, and this focuses on the wipeout of the human race. Basically, there is a plague that is released from a military base. There is a guard at a military base. There's an outbreak. He panics, gets his family and runs foolishly, and he is the trigger of this plague. He crashes into a petrol station in Texas that is owned by a friend of Gary Sinise, and he's there, Gary Sinise, with his friends as this car crashes into it, and that's the start of the plague. And this first episode focuses on the outbreak, and it's called Captain Trips, and it's presented as like a really serious case of the flu, but in actual fact there is no cure, even though they desperately try and find a cure. Because they quarantine this town, the military, in the hope that they can find a cure, but they don't. But what they can't understand is Gary Sinise is immune to it, and they can't find any reason behind it, which is a source of frustration for both Gary Sinise and the military and the scientists. And it actually turns out that there is a very select few people that are immune to this plague, and they are the chosen ones essentially. And you have by the end of the plague, it's wiped out like 95% of the population worldwide, basically. And then Randall Flagg makes an appearance, who's played brilliantly by Jamie Sheridan. And Randall Flagg basically is the devil, I suppose. My understanding is it ties into the Dark Tower and all that kind of stuff. I'm not sure how and why, but it does apparently. So you've got Randall Flagg turns up at the end of the first episode, the plague, and to pick the bones of humanity, basically. And he sets up camp in Vegas with all the criminals and the lowlifes that have survived the plague. And the second episode, The Dreams, focuses on a series of people that are given these visions and dreams by Mother Abigail, who is a servant of God, this elderly lady out in Nebraska, I think it is. And she receiving these messages from God, and she's talking to these people in these dreams, like Gary Sinise and Rob Lowe and a select few others, and she's saying, come to seek me, bring as many people as you can. And they end up going over there, and they start setting up a community over in Nebraska, I think it is. And that's what The Dreams is about. Now, The Betrayal, the third part, is essentially, while there is a community building in Nebraska with Mother Abigail, and they're all trying to, get the power back on and live a normal life, there are actually people within them who are loyal to Randall Flagg, or clearly just don't belong. And this whole Betrayal episode is like, right, how do we find out what's happening in Vegas? We need to send spies. So they start sending some spies over there. All in the while, there's actually already people working within their community from Randall Flagg, and essentially they are betrayed by one of the people they trust the most in this episode. And the final episode, The Stand, is basically where Mother Abigail says to a select few of them, the main characters, you have to go to Vegas. I've been spoken to by God. You guys have to go to Vegas with what you've got in your back right now and face out, have a standoff against Randall Flagg. And they believe her and they do it. They set off to Vegas, and she says, one of you will fall by the wayside. She spouts all this gospel-y stuff at them, and they do it out of faith, and they have to go and face off against Randall Flagg. And that's the general gist of this story. Really well made, really fantastic miniseries, pretty frightening when it wants to be, even though it was made for TV, a bit like It. They've had to tone it down a little bit, but it is still pretty frightening, I would suggest. Really impressive. Some of the effects are a bit dodgy now, and the ending's a little bit of a damp squid and a little bit overly long. But other than that, the weakest episode is definitely the final episode, I would suggest. The first two episodes are very, very strong, and you starts getting a little bit run-of-the-mill-ish when it gets to the third and fourth episode, but they are still very good and very watchable. So really, really impressive miniseries here, guys. And my understanding is that it's going to be made into a movie, which doesn't surprise me on the back of the success of It last year. So this will make a fantastic movie. Really excited. I think if they do like they've done with It and split it into 2 movies, even 3, you could probably get out of this. I'm on board. I think this could easily be a fantastic movie. So yeah, if you haven't seen The Stand, guys, it's worth seeking out. It's really cheap to pick up these days as well, and you won't be disappointed, I'm sure. So thanks for watching, and if this is your first time visiting Screen Stars, please consider joining us and subscribing to the channel, and clicking that like button is really, really helpful. Thanks for watching, everybody.